The moment meat disappeared from wartime tables, everything changed. Governments rationed it, black markets thrived, and ordinary families were forced to rethink what a proper meal even meant. Yet millions didn't starve, and it wasn't luck. It came down to a handful of overlooked crops that quietly stepped in to replace protein, calories, and nutrition at scale. One of the most powerful among them wasn't flashy, wasn't celebrated, and today it's almost forgotten. But during World War II, this single seed helped stretch meals, stabilize food systems, and keep entire populations going when supply chains collapsed. If you've ever wondered how civilians survived prolonged shortages without modern supermarkets, the answer lies in resilience and in seeds that could grow fast, store well, and deliver serious nourishment. This isn't just history. It's a practical lesson in food security that still applies today. The overlooked protein powerhouse that replaced meat on wartime plates. The seed in question is the humble soybean. While it had been cultivated in Asia for centuries, it became a strategic crop during World War II, especially in the United States and parts of Europe. When meat production dropped and imports were disrupted, soybeans stepped in as a high-protein substitute that could be grown domestically at scale. Soybeans contain around 36 to 40% protein, making them one of the most efficient plant-based protein sources available. During the war, they were processed into flour, milk, oil, and even meat substitutes. Soy flour was added to bread to boost nutritional value, stretching wheat supplies while improving protein intake. For families dealing with strict rationing, this wasn't just helpful, it was essential. What made soybeans especially valuable was their versatility. They could be turned into multiple food forms without requiring complex infrastructure. In a time when refrigeration was limited and supply chains were fragile, that adaptability made all the difference. Wartime governments didn't just rely on soybeans appearing naturally in diets, they actively promoted them. In the United States, extension programs taught farmers how to grow soybeans and encouraged households to incorporate soy-based foods into daily meals. Cookbooks began including recipes using soy flour and soy grits, often blending them with familiar ingredients to ease the transition. In Britain, where rationing was particularly strict, similar strategies were used with alternative protein sources, though soy never reached the same dominance as it did in the United States. Still, the principle remained the same: replace scarce meat with nutrient-dense plant options that could be produced locally. The key takeaway here is that food systems adapted quickly when necessary. People didn't wait for shortages to end. They changed what they ate. Not all crops can step in during a crisis. Soybeans worked because they checked several critical boxes. They grow relatively quickly, enrich the soil through nitrogen fixation, and produce high yields per acre. This meant farmers could maintain soil health while increasing food output, something crucial during a prolonged war. They also store well when dried, reducing spoilage risks. In a time before widespread refrigeration, that mattered enormously. Families could keep a supply of soybeans for months and process them as needed, ensuring a steady source of protein. From a survivalist perspective, this is exactly the kind of crop you want: nutrient-dense, storable, and adaptable to different uses. This isn't just a historical curiosity, it's a blueprint. If you're thinking about food resilience, soybeans or similar legumes should be part of your strategy. Growing them in a small garden is entirely feasible, even at a household level. Start by planting soybeans in well-drained soil during a warm season. They don't require heavy fertilization, which makes them easier to manage than many other crops. Once harvested and dried, they can be stored in airtight containers for long-term use. In practical terms, you can grind soybeans into flour and mix it with regular flour to increase protein content in bread. Even a 10 to 20% substitution makes a noticeable nutritional difference. You can also boil and mash them into spreads or incorporate them into stews as a meat extender. Another effective approach is combining soybeans with grains like maize or rice. This creates a more complete protein profile, something wartime nutritionists understood well. It's a simple method that dramatically improves the quality of a basic meal. What modern survivalists often miss about World War II food strategies. There's a tendency today to focus on stockpiling rather than production. But World War II showed that sustainable food systems depend on what you can grow, not just what you can store. Soybeans weren't valuable because they could be hoarded. They were valuable because they could be replanted, harvested, and used repeatedly. Another overlooked lesson is dietary flexibility. People adapted to new ingredients because they had to. That mindset is just as important as the crops themselves. If your food plan relies only on familiar ingredients, it's fragile by default. Finally, wartime strategies emphasized community knowledge sharing. Recipes, planting techniques, and preservation methods were widely distributed. This collective learning allowed entire populations to adjust quickly. Today, that same principle applies. Skills matter as much as supplies. Why this forgotten seed still matters more than ever. In a world where supply chains can still be disrupted, whether by conflict, climate, or economic instability, the lessons of World War II remain relevant. Soybeans proved that a single crop, when used creatively and strategically, can fill massive nutritional gaps. They weren't glamorous, and they didn't replace meat perfectly, but they kept millions fed when options were limited. That's the kind of reliability that matters in both history and survival planning. If you're serious about resilience, it's worth looking beyond modern convenience foods and revisiting the crops that have already proven themselves under pressure. If you found this breakdown valuable and want more deep dives into forgotten survival strategies and wartime resilience, subscribe to the channel and share this with someone who takes preparedness seriously. There's a lot history hasn't told us, and we're just getting started.